This is a bread and butter ZTT budget build. For about 500 bucks, this PC is rocking some serious value for a 1080p high to even ultra gaming experience, and the aesthetics are of course gonna be dialed in as well. Today I'll be showing you all of the parts inside of here so you can copy it for yourself, and then we'll benchmark it to see what it's capable of. All of that's coming after a quick word from today's sponsor.
And real quickly, since I know my audience is always interested in saving money when building and selling gaming PCs, today's video sponsor GVG Mall can definitely help you out with that. I've worked with GVG Mall for so long now and have bought probably close to 100 keys myself, and they're hooking you all up big time with the 25% off discount if you use code ZTT18 with the link in the description. GVG Mall has Windows activation keys as well as Microsoft Office, game keys for platforms like Steam and Origin, and they even have console stuff too like PSN and Xbox prepaid cards. Activating Windows couldn't be easier. Just paste in the key that you get instantly after paying on the website, so remove that ugly unactivated watermark for good. Don't forget to use ZTT18 for 25% off with the link in the description.
All right, so starting with the CPU, I love going with a Ryzen 5 3600 here, specifically if you can scoop one from AliExpress for 55 to 60 bucks. Here's some of the main reasons why I went with it. Feel free to screenshot these or watch this video back if you need to. For cooling the CPU, I just painted one of the stock Ryzen coolers, which is plenty for the 3600, but be aware that some AliExpress sellers won't include this with the CPU, so try to find that out ahead of time. Otherwise, you can just go with a Thermalright Assassin X SE ARGB for about 20 bucks. Next up is the motherboard, and I snagged this MSI B450 Tomahawk Max 2 off my secret weapon of Amazon resale for $72 used. The RAM I plugged into it is the Corsair 2x8GB DDR4 kit clocked at 3200 MHz, which I grabbed new off Amazon. Perfect for an all white and clean build like what we're going for. After that, we have the SSD, and this is the Team Group MP33, and I would specifically recommend the 1TB model for around $57, but I'm physically using the 512GB model for this build because I got a bunch of them for free from Newegg and I might as well use them. I did budget out the full 1TB price for this build guide video though, so don't worry about that. After the motherboard is all prepped up, it's time to move on to the power supply, and this is the MSI Mag A650BM because we needed a bit more power compared to the usual A550BM that I normally use for budget builds. And the case that everything is going into is honestly the true inspiration for this project. This is the Sama YE1203, and I specifically picked this one because it comes with these 3 Sama ARGB fans that kind of look like knockoff Lee & Lee uni fans. You can actually buy a separate 3-pack of these fans too, which I did for about 15 bucks, and sometimes they go on sale for even cheaper than that. Now that is a total of $79 for the case and case fans, which isn't amazing for a budget build, but once you see how this completed system turned out, you'll see exactly why I did that. Other than the fans though, I do appreciate the minimal fish tank design, a USB-C port up at the top, and honestly no real complaints about the building process with this case. The last part we have here is the graphics card, and this is the MSI Mech RX 5700, and specifically the non-XT model, which I snagged used over on eBay for $110. The main reason why I got this though is because you can BIOS flash it up to 5700 XT level of performance, and that's exactly what we did. I recommend searching on YouTube for a dedicated video about how to do that though, but if you can follow instructions, it's just not that difficult, and it results in some serious 1080p performance for just over $100. Overall, this was a very smooth and easy PC building process, which I did over on my Twitch live stream by the way, and my only real complaint was the poor cable management starting point that the case arrived with. It's 100% to be expected with a budget Sama model like this though, but that did take some extra time to take care of. Those fans were super fun to work with because they just snap right into each other, and then you can just daisy chain one end of that 3-pack into the 3 included fans. Honestly, doesn't get much easier than that. Before I take this PC home and run it through a couple of games that I'm currently playing right now, here's the full parts list and the prices you should shoot for if you're trying to copy this at home. That CPU price from AliExpress and used B450 price on Amazon resale is very easy to copy. Both of those are proven strategies that I often deploy for these budget builds. I then took the PC home with me and I changed up my peripheral weapons of choice just a bit since the last video. The 2 main changes are the Zero Mouse V35 from Optimum, which I've been having a blast with. We made 3 YouTube shorts on this thing already. And I also got some new Linsol KZ ZS10 Pro IEMs, which I'm definitely trying to make a video on soon as well. Everything else I'm using is the same per usual. First up, I tested XDefiant, and I put the settings at 1080p with the medium preset, but the only change was turning off VSync. Honestly, I'm getting a little depressed on this one because every time I go to play it, it just takes longer and longer to find a match. Definitely feels like the one shooter game that I actually like right now is dying right in front of my eyes.
They ask you how you are, and you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
The game did run great though, because with this $500 gaming PC, I was getting about 120 to 140 FPS on average, and I didn't notice any sort of big drops or spikes. Now, it didn't feel silky smooth, and aiming did take a bit to get used to, and that CPU was up there around the 80 to 90% mark, and the GPU was like 70 to 80%, but that's all normal with this title. Temperatures looked pretty solid, and although I couldn't put together any crazy highlight reel, I did end my last game strong with an 18 and 10 KD and a victory. Time to move on to the next game. Not sure how many of you tried this, but over the weekend was the Black Ops 6 early access beta, and here I put the settings at 1080p with the basic preset. I did keep that upscaling at Fidelity FX CAS since that's what it defaulted to. Didn't get a chance to play around with that to see which one was better. I also did find it amusing that it labeled my GPU as the 5700 XT because of that BioFlash. Now, playing this game is a drastically different feeling from XDefiant, but I do honestly think it feels much better than Modern Warfare 3 from last year, which I quit after like 3 games. Here I got a solid 110 to 120 FPS, and it did feel just a tad bit smoother running around aiming compared to XDefiant. Here the GPU is working a bit more though, and it was getting a little toasty up there in the high 80s, but that's gonna happen with a flashed 5700 being utilized up to 100%. Side note, I'm definitely not a fan of all these slides and dolphin diving. I encountered that one too many times, and my 32-year-old reflexes just can't compete with that nonsense. After that, I hopped into F124, and I put the settings at the high preset and left everything else to stock. I figured for this home benchmarking section, I should probably just create a new career mode specifically for controller. That way it's separate from my sweaty sim racing career setup. I signed the dotted line with Kick Sauber so I could work my way up from the bottom in these videos. I'm looking forward to rolling next to Valtteri and turning around this Kick team. During my very first lap of practice though, honestly, I could feel how much worse this car was. I've only ever used the better cars in this game, and there is a drastic difference. Hopped into my first qualifying session at Bahrain and somehow managed to get 6th place though. I might need to bump up the 75 difficulty up to like 80 to 85, that should be much better. But come race time, the game still continued to run super smoothly around the 110-ish FPS mark, and that was dramatically smoother than my first lap of actual driving, where I was basically bouncing all over the place from car to car. I must have hit like 4 people on that lap. The graphics don't look amazing though with this preset option, and I definitely could have chosen to put the settings up a bit more since it's not really a competitive esport game, but for a super fast and twitchy racer like this, I do value the higher FPS, so that's why I kept it where it's at. I ended up battling for 6th position almost the entire race and ended up taking 7th. Honestly, that's not a bad start for the new Kick driver. Here's the rest of the games that we tested, and as you can see, everything is running pretty nicely around the 1080p high level mark. And if you wanted to see an extended benchmarking video, then check out the video we just posted on the ZTT Extras channel. So yeah, I'm definitely happy with how this $500 gaming PC turned out, and what I really like is how easy it would be to repeat it. Sometimes with the budget PCs, especially with used parts, it's not really a copy paste sort of deal, but for this one, you definitely can do that if you have a bit of patience. Be sure to check out zttbuildhelp.com if you need some further support with building a custom PC, and check out the video on the screen now for a different way to build with the same price point.